Hey guys, how you doing? George from Monker Biosystems. I want to talk to you a little bit today about knives that bad guys actually carry on the street, as well as when they're locked up. It's probably been a good 8, 9, maybe even 10 years ago now that when I started MCS full time, and I went around, did some stuff for Maryland Department of Corrections Special Operations Group. I went and did some stuff for Indiana Department of Corrections. I talked to some other people that I knew that were in corrections, and I've had the opportunity to go to a lot of prisons, a lot of jails, and looked at a lot of their seized stuff as far as edge weapons they get from people or off the inmates. And the funny thing about it is that a lot of the stuff that you see in there is kind of like you'd see out here. In there, of course, they have to improvise and they have to make it. But out here, you know, they can pick stuff up. I had a buddy killed last year with a Spyderco Civilian. That was literally the first time I've even ever heard about a quality knife being used in an assault or as a murder weapon. By far, the number one thing I saw carried by street people and bad guys, and I saw used, was the box cutter. Okay, it's got like a 1-inch, and everything I have on the table here I'm going to show you was all actually taken off of bad guys. I took it off of bad guys, or they donated it to my collection. So you've got your plain old box cutter there. The idea is seldom to, kill the person. You just want to slash to get away. And again, it's usually going to be, we call an angle one. High right going down to low left, right-handed person, right across the face or across the chest. Just enough to traumatize that person and back them up. Another thing I started seeing a real lot towards the end of my career was because when they first came out, was the little pocket knives that have the replaceable box cutter blade. I worked in the state of Maryland. State of Maryland's illegal to carry a razor unless you're going to and from work. I worked in a place where there was a ton of warehouses. So all the derelicts, because the companies, they got a tax break for employing, people on parole and probation. They worked in warehouses. So, of course, they were always coming to or from work, or going to or coming from work. So they carried these, quite a lot. And, of course, when you get into a confrontation, you don't go looking for a weapon if you're carrying one on you, and this is what they would have, and this is what they would cut each other with. So we got the box cutters out of there. And, of course, then we would just get the, shitty run-of-the-mill folding knife. This one doesn't even lock anymore. Again, usually not the highest quality. We would get the cheap flea market Balisongs. But the interesting thing about this is not very sharp. But again, it'll go right through you, and it'll put you in a morgue. There ain't no doubt about that. Screwdrivers we saw a lot because it's kind of hard to break into a car with a knife. But you can stab somebody with a screwdriver, and you can also break into a car, which is very handy if you're a street urchin. So we saw a lot of screwdrivers. This bad boy will go through body armor like a hot knife, sorry for the pun, through butter because of the point. It's kind of like an ice pick. But so we saw a lot of screwdrivers. Most often, I'd say I usually saw the Phillips head for whatever reason. Then, guy had this dive knife. I don't know what he did to it, but the tip is all kind of pointed over. And I think he might have actually carried this. This might actually been, I think, in his boot, if I remember correctly. So therefore, it's a boot knife. The definition of a boot knife is any knife that you carry in your boot, I guess. So he actually even had a shitty little sheath here, but he was carrying it nonetheless. And then this, I don't know what happened to the sheath from it, but this one, I only encountered somebody carrying a knife around their neck one time, and that was this little bad boy. So, I don't know what he really intended to do with this. Yeah, of course you could do damage with it, but he said he used it for, utility purposes, but it's kind of little. I don't know. But outside of the box cutters, the traditional box cutter and the folding box cutter, if somebody's going to get cut in the hood, they'll tell you they're not going to go, get an expensive knife or buy an expensive knife. They're going to go get something out of the kitchen. So you see this little fella right here would definitely do some damage. Just a little resin-handled, I guess like a paring knife. And then the steak knives. In the ghetto, you're going to see a lot of steak knives. What are steak knives intended for? They're intended for cutting meat. So that serrated part will do some serious damage to your face and anywhere else you get cut. Again, those gashes probably aren't going to kill you, but they're not going to do you any good. And they're just looking for enough, to be able to continue to do whatever they want to do, or for them to get away if it's a, mutual confrontation. The interesting thing about the steak knife with the rounded tip, you know why they carry the rounded tip? Because you can put this bad boy in your back pocket, your purse, or even your weave and not get poked. So that's why the knife, with the rounded tip was very popular. I thought I had one here. No, I thought I actually had one from Golden Corral because there was a Golden Corral on my post. So typically, steak knives are, pretty decent steel for what they are, and they'll do a lot of damage. So you can see that's a good, the blade goes all the way half back in the handle. It's riveted in there 3 times, and that bad boy's going to be able to do some work with that. And the reason why I want to show all these, to everybody is to make it as realistic as possible when you think in your mindset and you do your when-if thinking, what kind of edge weapons you're going to face in the street and the reality of it. If your training has so far been predicated on being able to see the weapon, you're absolutely just training to fail. You got to think that if you see open hands, it's just because they haven't had time to access a weapon yet. And if you see a closed hand coming at you, you better have it in your mind that there's a good possibility that's one of these, or where's my other little guy here? One of these. Okay, you take that thing off the inside of an arm or across the neck, you might not make it home for dinner. All right, so let's train realistically. We do a lot of stuff against stun guns, so people get to fight through a little bit of pain and a little bit of the anxiety of getting cut. Because the bottom line is, you don't want to get cut at all, and if you have to get cut, you want to get cut as little as possible. But you have to have it in your mind set ahead of time that if you get slashed with this across the face, or you take this into your back, you're not going to stop fighting. You have to have in your mind that no matter what, you're not going to die out there in the street. All right? So, again, that's some of the knives that bad guys carry. We'll probably talk about more of this in the future. If you guys have any questions, want to send me any pictures of any weapons you've pulled off of bad guys in jail or on the street, I love that stuff. It really helps a lot to educate all the other officers and now all the citizenry. Because more and more, what are you seeing? We just had an axe attack, in Germany yesterday, the day before. We're seeing machete attacks and all that kind of stuff. And when you're dealing with places where it's either very hard to get firearms or where you can't get a firearm because you're an immigrant, you're going to see a lot more edge weapons attacks. We see more and more in the news every day. So if your thought process is saying something about the 21-foot rule that you probably have no idea what it was really about, or you say, well, I'll just shoot them, then obviously you don't understand the edge weapons threat. Because if you see somebody coming with you and it looks like they got closed hands, they got one of these, you're not going to treat that as a deadly threat. You're going to treat it as an open hand attack, whether you respond open hand with a firearm, and you're going to fail and you're going to get the shit cut out of you. So I suggest that you get rid of that mindset and you realize that if somebody's coming at you and they're coming at you with any kind of a weapon, or they're coming at you with open hands, and there's a possibility that they might have a edge weapon in their hand, your first response, whether you're wearing a gun or not, whether you're a cop or whether you're a civilian, if it's an altercation, you're going to have to do something open-handed. The nuts and bolts of that is block evade, move to the outside, destroy their elbow, because that's the linchpin in holding the weapon, and attack their central nervous system, and put your knee sideways into their knee and take away their ability to stand up, their ability to hold the weapon, their ability to think. Hit the head, the old Control-Delete button, and then get out of dodge. Okay, that's combative anatomy. So if you guys, again, if you have any questions, want to send anything to me, be glad to have it. I look forward to talking to you next time. Stay safe.